I always see a lot of hate for international windows. It always pops up on my timeline or my other timeline or my third timeline or my fourth timeline. I'm like Marvel. I have as many timelines as you want, right? Because I cannot cut off social media because part of my livelihood, right, is being on social media and keeping track of what people want to talk about. And I always see a lot of content about how freaking the international window sucks. Well, something great happened during the international window. Something that I've learned is perhaps one of my favorite parts of the entire sport of soccer, football, right? Like one of the best things that can happen in the sport. And that is a new team making a major international tournament. That is a unique experience, right? I think that having an entire country that gets behind the idea that there is this great goal. They've been watching it maybe their entire lives, right? And this is something very, very, very difficult to grasp for people even like me from the United States, right? But if you're from England, you're from France, you're from Brazil, right? Argentina, wherever you happen to be watching this, Mexico, well, like the World Cup is something that you're just a part of. And if you're not every once in a blue moon, fire everybody and start over, and then you get a bit of a different experience. I got that in 2018, right? But the World Cup, the Euros, Copa America, for me, like the Gold Cup, it's something that your team is just supposed to be a part of. You're going to be there at the end, right? CONCACAF Nations League, we're going to be in the Final Four, right? That's not new to us. It's where we're supposed to be. That's the stage that we're supposed to watch our country on, right? When I watch the Olympics, as a freaking American, there's always an American in every event, right? The Olympics holds so much allure, I think, in the United States because we just have one random person that's good at everything. It's impossible for us to relate to a country like Iceland, who grew up in a unique culture, grew up in a unique landscape, separated very significantly from a lot of the rest of the world, that then finally got to watch their national team, people they could speak to, that they could relate to, that understood who they were, play at the Euros and then beat England. Like that is what makes the international game so great to me. It's why I fell in love with the sport through the international game first. I fell in love with football through the idea of that happening at World Cups. And then that expands to major tournaments like even the Asian Cup, where we saw amazing runs by a couple of different teams that managed to make it to the knockouts for the first time ever. You had Syria made it to the knockouts for the first time ever. You had Palestine, which obviously meant a ton, making it to the knockouts the first time ever. And then you had Tajikistan making it all the way to the quarterfinal for the first time ever, right? These new experiences. Well, it happens in Europe too, right? And there are, as much as Europe and South America are, where the light shines the brightest, there are teams that have not had that light shined on them yet. One of them that I'm waiting for is actually Venezuela. They're the only team in the South American qualifying region that has never made it to the World Cup. And with the expansion of the World Cup to 6.5 teams out of South America, it takes one good run, one golden generation, one draw away against Brazil that could get Venezuela over the top and actually getting into a World Cup. Well, Europe, a lot more countries going on. And while Gibraltar and Liechtenstein and San Marino are going to putter around in Nations League D with their 30,000 people and never make the Euros, there are countries that had still never made the Euros that have players you've heard of. And one of them is Georgia. And I am so happy to say for Georgian people, for Georgian players, that in case you missed it, they made the Euros, which this continues a rather amazing streak, right? But we're going to get to the streak. It started with a match against Greece, which happened, it's like midnight right now, but basically on Tuesday. Match against Greece. It goes all the way to penalties. It's played in Tbilisi, which is capital of Georgia, or at least the biggest city in Georgia. And that's just kind of a luck of the draw thing. Goes all the way to penalties. And then this dude, I'm going to give this my best shot here. Nika Kwakwiszkiri, who plays for Lech Poznan in Poland, scores the winning penalty. And I'm just going to go ahead and play this for you. Listen to the sound pop when this penalty goes in from Kwakwiszkiri. This is what it means to finally know that you're going to be represented on the big stage. That at the European Championships this summer, which if you follow the sport, you've watched all of these other great nations play. Now you're going to watch the people from your corner of the world, the people from your street, your neighborhood, your city that are going to be able to show up and represent. Listen to what that means. I turn this up here. That's loud as hell. That's before he even takes the shot. All right, here we go. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's what it means. People, I always see questions, and I'm always going to be biased. I know I'm always going to be biased on this because I fell in love with the international game first. That go, would you rather have your club team win the Champions League or win the Premier League or the La Liga or whatever, or your nation to win the World Cup? The answer is always your nation to win the World Cup, or even the Euros. Because there is just something special about everybody pulling in the same direction. Just for those few seconds when the ball goes in. All of a sudden, everybody's pulling in the same direction. I mean, everybody in the bar that I'm watching US v Iran at the World Cup in, right? Like, everybody in that bar, the moment Christian Pulisic finds a way to score a goal in that game, for a couple of seconds, I'm hugging everybody, right? For a couple of seconds, I'm high-fiving everybody. There isn't even a club divide there. Except for that one dude on Arsenal TV that honestly that doesn't celebrate when Harry Kane scores. But honestly, fuck that dude. I never really understood that. I don't think I ever will understand that. I can't even begin the process of understanding that. Like, dude, it's your national team. Like, come on, just loosen it up for 5 seconds. There's no this is what it's all about. Like, this is what it's all about. I think the closest I could probably get to trying to answer that question, would I rather have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win a Super Bowl or the United States win the Copa America? I would take the U.S. winning Copa America. Now, maybe I'm spoiled. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have already won 2 Super Bowls. If we never won one before, then fine. But I think that's the closest I can get myself to trying to have to answer that question. But, I mean, actually being able to win a major tournament and have that moment with everybody from your country and do something that always made the most sense to me. I'm completely off topic here because what we're talking about is a country making it onto the dance floor for the first time, seeing yourself represented for the first time. And this is why I'm a huge believer that even though FIFA expanding the World Cup was totally just for money, that they accidentally did a good thing, because the bigger the World Cup is, I'm not talking about making a 128 team World Cup. That's obviously stupid. But having a World Cup that allows when they expanded to 32, there were a lot less teams trying to qualify. But having a World Cup that allows the top 25% of the world's nations in that given 4-year cycle to participate in the grand event, it just creates so many more moments like this. Those 16 spots are going to allow countries like Mali, countries like Uzbekistan, countries like Georgia to be able to participate in that event. And can you imagine? I mean, if you look in the stands here, right, and you saw the crowd. Let me see if I can find it. How many people in there are going to raise kids that are hoping to play for the Georgian national team, that are going to be lifelong fans of the Georgian national team because they watched their national team, right, actually do something, actually make them proud? It is the special sauce to all this. And it's actually been a huge part of the Euros. I think the European Championships, particularly the idea to expand them, great idea. I don't think you need to expand the Euros anymore. I think it's probably at a good size now. But the fact, like, I don't know if I'll read this for you. With the qualification of Georgia, a new non-successor national team has debuted in every single competition or every single edition of the European Championship. Every single Euros, there's been a new team. That's awesome. There's no other way to describe that. Like, even last time, it was Finland and North Macedonia that were at their first European Championships ever. Georgia winning in this playoff puts them into their first European Championship ever. By the way, Serbia, even though it's considered a successor to Yugoslavia, is in its first European Championship ever. They'd never been, even though they've been to the World Cup knockouts. Right? Even though Serbia's been this huge nuisance to big teams at World Cups, they're going to their first European Championships. You have Albania, Iceland, Northern Ireland, Wales, Ukraine, Austria, Poland, Latvia, Norway, Slovenia, Bulgaria, Croatia, Switzerland, all these nations, all of these, and like that 1996 Euros, what did that do for Croatia, right? The 1996 Euros, what did that do for Switzerland? The Swiss national teams made like 5 consecutive knockout stages at the World Cup. Having more countries make it is always great. my favorite thing, legitimately. I've been hoping for Uzbekistan in the World Cup for like 4 straight qualifying cycles. My favorite thing in the international game is teams making the big tournament for the first time. So this video is just one giant congratulations to Georgia. I'm happy for the fans, the players, Kvaratskhelia, because he's been wearing that scrutiny to try and lift his team, right? Even though that's always unfair. This is a very team-oriented sport. Even if you got one amazing player, you still need other dudes to get the job done. And Georgia's got those other dudes. They have other guys that play in top 5 leagues, good keeper and all that jazz. So I'm happy for them. I think they can get there and make some noise. I'll probably make another video about the actual draw of the Euros, but there is a new team in the Euros for the 17th consecutive edition. Great news. Awesome for Georgia. Can't wait for the tournament. Gonna be fun. That and Copa America at the same time. Inject it straight into my veins. I have very appealing veins. I get told that every time they take blood, so should be easy for me to inject Copa America. Maybe I have to go to the other arm for Euros. I don't know. Just lay me in the chair and give me the IV. I'm good with that.